We're going to start this meeting on time. Welcome, everyone. It's now 6:30 p.m. I'd like to call to order the Fenton Township Board meeting on this first day of July 2025. I would ask everyone to please stand for the opening prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance. Trustee Gopal, will you lead us?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Heavenly Father, bless us as we gather here tonight. Help us to nurture the bonds of our community. Guide us to make decisions in the best interest of the residents of the township. We pray for an end to the conflicts in the world today. We pray for the sick, the injured, and the dead. And as always, we ask these prayers in your most holy name. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. As always, Mark, appreciate it. Clerk Crowe, will you please call the roll?
Yes, Lorraine,
Present.
Reed,
Here.
Clark,
Present.
Krug is present, Kessler is absent, Gopal,
Here.
and Tucker is absent. You have 5 members present.
All right, thanks, Bob. I'd like to note for the record that our township attorney, Jack Belzer, our operations manager, Tom Broker, zoning administrator, Mike Deem, and our fire chief, Ryan Volz, are also present. Monica is also present. She'll be giving us an evening, our social media coordinator, but we'll, also I want to let you know that the following township officials are present via, no.
She's sitting in front of you.
Yeah, no. Okay. I was looking for Julia, but she's not on, is she?
No.
All right. Also present, I'm sorry, Melissa, is our township engineer, Melissa Lawrence. Tom, will you detail the procedures for tonight's virtual meeting?
Yes, to the members of the public attending tonight's meeting in person or via Zoom, please be advised the meeting is being recorded to be shown on Public Access TV, Spectrum Channel 191. Recorded meetings are also posted on the Fenton Area Community Television YouTube channel. For those attending via Zoom, we ask that you keep your microphone muted till we reach portions of the meeting where the public comment is allowed. For tonight's meeting, there are no public hearings, therefore all public comment will be taken near the end of the meeting. Meeting materials are available for download on the township's website at fentontownship.org.
All right, thanks, Tom. Moving on to the first business order is the approval of the agenda. Are there any requests to amend tonight's agenda? Hearing none, a motion is in order to approve the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Second.
All right, motion's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Clerk Krug, will you please call the roll?
I vote yes. Clark,
Yes.
Kessler is absent. Reed,
Yes.
Gopal,
Yes.
Tucker is absent. Lorraine,
Yes.
passes.
All right, agenda stands approved as presented. Moving on to the meeting minutes, included in the packet are the meeting minutes of the June 17th regular meeting. Are there any corrections or requested revisions to these meeting minutes? Hearing none, the meeting minutes stand approved as presented. Tonight we have a presentation by our communications, it's a communications update by our social media coordinator, Monica McAllister. She'll give us, the board, an update on communications, including social media and our website.
All right, so I did send out a report that was in the packet. I'm just going to kind of briefly go over that. If you guys have any questions regarding any of it, feel free to ask. I can clarify anything. Wanted to start with the website, since we do send so many people to the website. It's kind of our home base for all of our communications. I kind of listed out the top 20 pages for like the last month leading up to this report for what people are going there and looking for. The top 10 pretty much stay the same unless, like, if you look now at the end of this month, taxes are going to skyrocket because taxes just came out this week. We're going to see, like, when elections come up, that will change. We try to coordinate what the Google Analytics are saying people are looking for on our website with the app, which we'll talk about later, because you can change in our My Fenton Township app what the quick links are in it, which will redirect people right to our website. That way we're not publishing things twice. We're just kind of using the same materials over and over, just kind of like interlocking them together. That's why every month I do a Google Analytics report for the website. When it comes to social media, Nextdoor is one of our biggest ones still. That one's great because it automatically geofences. So anybody that is registered on Nextdoor as having a house here in Fenton Township automatically gets our information in their feed. It's not the best for timing all the time, so I try to not put stuff like tonight's our board meeting because people might not see it for 3 days. But putting stuff on there like we do our Preparedness Tip Tuesday tips and stuff like that is great for next door. Or if there is an emergency, it does have its own alert system. So those that haven't downloaded the app can still kind of get it that way too, though I definitely encourage the app. Our Instagram, well, next door as well, that is an agency account, meaning it's not just like somebody just went on to next door and just created an account saying it was Fenton Township. It is a verified agency account. Instagram is also a verified account, along with Facebook. Anything with Meta, we are verified through them. The only things that we are not verified on are Twitter/X, and that's because after they rebranded, they want you to pay for that. And I don't feel like that's the best use of taxpayer money when we've got other avenues that we already have at their disposal. Instagram is one of our kind of fluctuating platforms because it is so visual based. A lot of times, especially in the winter, we get very graphic heavy on it because I'm not out taking pictures. You can only take so many pictures of things covered in snow. But as we're getting into summer with the beach and everything, the upgrades out there, we are seeing a big uptick on our Instagram account. As you can see, if you look through it, some of the hot topics on there, views were up 247% over the last month, and it shows like some of the top pictures are, if you look at them, they're all the beach or swimming. So we got a theme going there on Instagram. When it comes to Fenton Township on Facebook, I have control of the municipal account. Fire department has control of the fire department account, and then the dog park kind of controls their own. I don't know how we're gonna kind of bring that in because they are kind of their own separate thing, along with now being part of our advisory board. But I do like to lump them in because they are still kind of part of us. If you look at just the municipal account, we were up 946.3% in the last month. We had over 183,000 views on our Facebook account. That's great. I was looking through the packet for tonight too, and I see that there's information coming up later about the Parks Board wanting to go through and put surveys out. This is great for that. I put surveys out on Facebook, I put surveys out on the app, and I've noticed a big return on stuff like that. What are some of the other big things? Again, pictures are great on Facebook, even though Facebook didn't kind of start off as kind of that image platform that was more that Instagram platform, but now we've noticed as more people put ads and stuff on Facebook, if you're just putting text, it gets buried, it gets lost as people are scrolling. So I try to always put some type of graphic, a link, even though now in the last month, Facebook's decided they're changing their best practices and they don't want the links actually in the top part of the post. They want you to put it down as the first comment so they can work with the algorithm. So kind of reworking how I post things myself, making sure that I post it and then immediately have to go back and put put the first comment in so that people can get the link. It's a work in progress. Facebook changes things every couple of months. For followers, I had on here that the municipal account was at 1.5 as I checked today because it's the first of the month, so I was doing my June reports. We are now up to 1.6 actually for the municipal account, which we've got the fire department at 1.4 and then the dog park is at 1.8. I can see those numbers, I just can't tell you what their posts and stuff are doing. Print media, we were talking about it before the meeting started. There is a monthly newsletter that we publish on the first of the month. With the app, that's one of the things that I try to push is making sure that there's a link to the most recent newsletter. Most recent newsletter is always printed in our lobby and our vestibule, and then all past copies are also still available on the website. So if it's like, hey, I remember kind of reading about this project, what happened before, people can always go back and reference all the last 2.5 years worth of newsletters. They're all on there. Flyers and brochures out there. I just went through, did an inventory on that. We do have a couple of the agencies that give us some flyers, like our water and stuff for the county. They like to see how many people are taking them. So we do a monthly inventory on that. I don't ever include that in here because sometimes it's very, very hit and miss on how many of the flyers go, kind of depending on foot traffic. We haven't had a lot of foot traffic in the office in the last month or two. But like today, we already saw an uptick. Property taxes just went out today, and we were already processing them. So we're going to start seeing a bigger uptick, and with that, we'll see more of the actual print media dissipate out. It was posted on Nextdoor today, and it will go up on the Meta platforms tomorrow. That this week is Aquatic Invasive Species Awareness Week, and so we actually had flyers for that out in the vestibule, and I already saw at least 3 people taking them today. So, word's out there, people are seeing the stuff on social media, and they are acting on it. When it comes to the app, we haven't even launched a full year yet. It launched last October. We have been used as a highlight piece for them. I found out today, just scrolling through LinkedIn for something else, that they have used our app images on at least 3 ads for GoGov. So they've highlighted us, they use our information and stuff for promoting themselves, and it's just a great platform. I love the fact that anybody can reach out to it, because a lot of times, even our notifications, while our residents are our priority, City of Linden's an island inside of us, and if something is affecting us, it's probably going to affect them too, with like traffic delays. Little bias there, I'll admit, because I grew up in the City of Linden, so I know how the greater community affects one another. But since our launch in October, we've had 350 downloads on Apple downloads and 115 Androids, plus 295 unique citizen accounts, which means people have either signed up. If you don't want to download the app, you can sign up for just email on our website. And so when we send out the notification, it will also send out an email. And some people they might not have a smartphone, or they just want the emails, they can sign up for that. So we have another 295 that are just getting emails. That's not one of my notifications.
My mom.
But like on that, we do the first of the month, which does a nice highlight. We put in all the meetings for the month. Obviously, this week we're gonna be closed 2 days, so that's in there. We did mention North Road, they're gonna close on Monday. The road commission will to start the project with the bridge. That's mentioned in there. Services provided with, we've got the kits where people can come get the water kits upstairs to test their well water. Dog licenses, when election stuff is in there, we always do a first of the month, the first day, where that all goes out to everybody. And then throughout the month, any road commission notices that come through, the surveys, the aerial mosquito treatment, solicitation for volunteers. I know the dog park's looking for some. The Shiawassee Keepers of the River, they've been looking for volunteers, and we try to promote that along with other items that we're involved in. I've tried to get out like property tax information, like warning people at least 2 weeks before it's due, and that did cut down this year on how many delinquents we had. So people are downloading, they're listening, and they're paying attention to us on whichever platform fits them best. Last thing that I want to add, because this just happened after I wrote the report, was last week I was asked to go speak at the Social Media Strategy Summit for Government. In December, it is virtual, so I will probably be taking a day off in December for that.
Monica, that was a great report.
Yep.
You just set the bar, I think, for all those that are going to be giving reports to the board. And I just for the residents and for the board, before I ask the board if they have any questions or comments, this board invested into hardware and software, and they invested in staff. Monica is our coordinator for social media. She's doing an amazing job. She really is. I know that sometimes I walk in and I'm excited, and I'll go, Monica, you need to get out on that beach, take a picture, because it's this. And she said, I did this morning at 8 o'clock. So, when we redid the beach, you're doing an amazing job.
Thank you.
And I think we are communicating, and the investment we made, this township made, in our social media, not only the software, but the staffing has been a great investment for our residents. So, Monica, I appreciate it. So.
Thank you.
I have a question for
Yep.
you. Among the various platforms that we use, what is the most common comment that we get? I mean, is it people say good
There
things,
isn't
bad
like
things?
good things. We don't get a lot of negative, which is great, because in government, a lot of feedback you get is usually negative. I also used to work retail in my previous life, and people are more apt to tell 10 people when they've had a negative experience before they tell anybody about a positive experience. But the majority of our comments are positive. A lot of times people will jump in and help. I've noticed in some of the Facebook groups, I don't participate as the township in any groups, but living in the area, I'm in a lot of groups just as myself, and the community will jump in. If somebody's saying something that's wrong, we've got community members that will link to either our Facebook post within it, they'll link to our website, so the community has bought in too, so that's great.
Is there any other questions or comments from the board? Great report, Monica.
Thank you.
Great report.
Good job.
All right, moving on to the next order of business, expenditures. Are there any questions from the board regarding any of the invoices? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion regarding the payment of expenditures totaling $207,600, or $762.74.
Motion to approve.
Second?
Motion's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Clerk Krug, will you please call the roll?
Reed,
Yes.
Gopel,
Yes.
Tucker, and Kessler are absent. Lorraine?
Yes.
I vote yes. Clark?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thanks, Bob. The expenditures stand approved as presented. Moving on to public hearings, tonight we have none. Moving on to reports. We have a couple of reports this evening. We're gonna start out with our township engineer update. As you all know, we have a lot of stuff going on. The board has discussed this several times, and we decided that we were going to have a quarterly report on everything that's going on in the townships. And I think you're gonna find out from our chief engineer that we have a lot of stuff going on in the township. Good evening, Melissa.
Good evening. I'm Melissa Lawrence. This is, you got a packet, obviously, on, and this is a lot of what's going on in the township. There's a lot going on in the township. So, quick synopsis you have in front of you. What I did bring in also is just something to show you some pictures to go along with it. So, the first item, I guess, is your projects, township projects that you all are doing. And we have 3 of those. The first one being the Tupper Lake Sanitary Sewer Upgrade Project, which is a project to take a 1,300 lineal feet of 15-inch sanitary sewer main and upgrade it to 24-inch. I don't have any big photos, it's not under construction yet, it was awarded back in March. $4 million, a little over, to DBM Utilities, with a expected start date in October of this year, with the intention of getting through the summer, and then they're gonna start. They have a substantial complete target date of a year from then, so fall of '26. This contractor believes they'll do it in 4 months. We'll see. So that's on target to start in October. That's just the drawing of the route as it crosses the river there and goes into Liberty Shores into the sanitary sewer interceptor. The next one, and you guys obviously stop me if you have any.
Melissa, could you speak closer to the microphone
Yep.
so that way the Zoom will pick it up?
You can
Okay.
kind of pull it towards you too.
Okay. The next one is Jennings Road Sanitary Sewer Upgrade. So this is an extension of the sanitary sewer north along Jennings Road. The picture I showed is just a plan view, and north is to the left as you look at it, which just shows it's 1.5 miles of sewer plus a pump station, because it all flows to the north end of Jennings Road. The pump station then is gonna send it to the south to the existing sanitary sewer on Laring Road. That is it's in the permitting stage. Most of any changes have been made. Expecting to go out for bid this fall with construction next year. The next one is the water main project phase 4. So you've done phases 1, 2, and 3. Phase 4 is gonna take the water main from the intersection of Ripley and Ralston all the way down along Silver Lake Road and then south, kind of cross-country to Chateau du Lac subdivision. Those photos are, or it's a map, just showing on the left is the north route. The blue line starts at that intersection, comes straight south to Silver Lake Road, and then it kind of dips on the south side of Silver Lake Road, because that's the proposed Redwood subdivision. This water main will run right through that proposed subdivision. Then it goes south, and then when you go to the right, you can see the cross-country route as it goes south, crosses some properties, and gets to Chateau du Lac. The survey, that contract for engineering was awarded in May. The survey is complete. The wetland delineation is complete. We're working on preliminary design now, route. Soil boring company is getting brought online. So working very closely with Water and Waste on this project, and then also we're gonna have a river crossing and a railroad crossing. So there's a lot of interesting parts to this one. That should be constructed next year. Then, the next topic is special assessment projects. So the one that I have here is landings at Cranes Cove. Again, that contract was awarded back in March of this year. It is, that's just the drawing, it is not under construction yet, although they have a substantial completion date in July with final completion in September. So I know that the contractor is working with the Water and Waste to get all their approvals for their shop drawings. Then they'll do a pre-con and that construction will start. So that subdivision can be hooked up to public water. Then I just wanted to kind of go over, you all have a lot of construction going on, a lot of subdivisions in this township. So we just went out kind of to summarize the subdivisions that are under construction and or about to be under construction. First one I got up here is West Winds. So that's the one that's over west of Linden Road off of Laring Road. Total 197 lots. And they've got it broken into 3 phases. So currently, phase 1 is complete as far as the infrastructure, and they're building homes. They've got several homes under construction. In fact, they've got people living there now. So that's going really fast, and because of that, they have started phase 2, and they're almost done constructing the infrastructure for phase 2. Then the next one, and those are just a couple of pictures of it. The next one is the Glades. That one is over off of Laring Road, also off of Laring Road, but this one is east of Linden Road on the north side. It has 2 phases, total 90 proposed units. Phase 1 is getting close to getting built out, so they are looking at doing phase 2, and phase 2 is current, the plans are in for review, and that's moving forward. Cider Creek is down south. I don't know if you all have driven down there, but that's pretty impressive the way they've set that one up. But it's off of Lobdell Road, and they also now have an entrance onto Linden Road. Phase 1 was 30 units. The whole thing is 95 units, I think. And they were going to do 3 phases. They switched because they were selling so quickly, probably in phase 1, that they did phase 2 and 3 as one. Phase 2 now is almost complete as far as the infrastructure. Roads are done, the sanitary's done, tested, approved. They're just putting some sidewalks in and stuff like that. So
This is the original phase 2?
it's phase 2 and phase 3. The original phase 2 and phase 3.
Well, you said they did 2 and 3 as one. They didn't
Yes.
add another 2 as a 4.
Correct.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. So there's the same number of units. They just built all the infrastructure, so they're done with the infrastructure. Then the last one, or no, I guess not the last one. Brookwood, or did I put Fairways next? Fairways. So Fairways is off of Linden Road, just south of Laring Road. Fairways of Spring Meadows, because they actually have quite a few lots that front Spring Meadows Golf Course. It was actually done back in 23. Anyway, they're under construction. They've 95 total lots, several homes under construction in there as well. Then the last one is the Brookwood subdivision. So this one is approved, and they actually started moving dirt in there in 2023, and then they were waiting on a loan to come through, so they put off actual construction. I did talk to them last week. They said they're close to getting their loan, and they expect to construct this year. That was just their drawing, so it showed the layout. And then just a couple other construction projects that are going on in the township. Miller Industries, 275,000 square foot office warehouse that's being constructed behind the current Miller Industries. So these are just a couple of aerial shots of the foundation and steel going up, setting trusses. So it is going up there, expecting to get occupancy late this year. And then also other construction is the Lake Fenton schools are now under construction to get connected to the water mains. They started at the high school. Their plan, they've awarded the contract. One contractor's got it all. Well, there's another contractor that does the interior work, but their plan is to do all 4 schools by this fall. And they're starting with the high school. So that's just a shot of the high school construction. So there's a lot going on. Is there any questions?
Are there any questions or comments from the board? Thank you, Melissa. That was a great report. We have a lot going on. I was going to try to put together some numbers. I'll meet with Tom over the next couple of weeks and try to see if I can get some numbers as far as, I'd like to, even myself, I'd like to know how many people we've got employed in the township with all these homes going up, Miller Industries and everything else like that. They're talking about another, 140 jobs. So it'd be nice to know all those numbers and the total investment in the township. So that takes some time to procure that information, but I will get that information over the next month or so. Any questions or comments from the board? We'll move on to our second report, which is our zoning administrator report. This is June 2025. Welcome, Mike.
Thank you. So we'll just hit some highlights here. Planning commission stuff we'll talk about in the next item. But Parks and Rec is working on updating the Parks and Rec master plan and working on a feasibility study for the Thompson Road Dog Park. So you'd heard mention of surveys. We're working on surveys. Going to be reviewing some goals and objectives at the next meeting, and we'll have some further updates for you guys on that. Related to Parks and Rec, the county held a had a meeting, right, where they wanted to talk about pathways and trails in the county. Right? And this was a great kickoff meeting, working with the Mott Foundation. So essentially there's going to be $25 million available for pathways and trails in the township. One of the key areas that was talked about is connecting the Lake Fenton schools together with sidewalks. So that would be going down Torrey Road, across Laring, be able to get all the schools connected. Eventually going out Thompson Road and connecting to Fenton Road, which would connect to the future Laugh pathway, head north, and all pathways and trails will lead into Flint and out, so we can get to all the recreational activities within the county. So we will probably be talking some more about that in upcoming meetings, because there's an excellent opportunity for grant funding for sidewalks, trails, and pathways. Another item of note, and if you want to mark your calendars for April 26th, the American Planning Association National Conference is coming to Detroit. It'll be the first time in Detroit in nearly 50 years. This is going to be an excellent opportunity for continuing education, and I would like to encourage the board, Planning Commission, Zoning Board to all, consider attending. Having an opportunity to go to a national conference is not an opportunity we get every year, and having it in our own backyard it's maybe not a once in a lifetime, but pretty close to that, right? So as you guys are working on the budget for next year, I'd like you to keep that in mind. This is going to be an important thing, and I think through the Michigan Association of Planners, there's going to be a gear up to start promoting the national conference and highlighting our state as a whole.
Is that just a one-day conference, the 26th?
So it's April 25th through 28th in Detroit. So that's just a brief summary of what's been going on in planning and zoning. We'll talk about the planning stuff in a minute here with the next item.
Any questions or comments from the board? Just a couple of things I would talk about. I agree with Mike. Mike and I have discussed it on more than one occasion. The national conference, I think it would be good. Number one, I think it would be a great way for everyone to get together. And like Mike said, it's first time in 50 years that it's actually been in our backyard, so we can save taxpayers money. And so I would encourage anyone that's on the board that's interested in it to do that. Also, I just wanted to give a little background. You don't have to stand there, Mike, unless they have questions, but about the $25 million. And I want to give a shout out to Ridgeway White, so our residents know. I think the board knows, Mike knows, that it was always important to me. I've had several conversations with Julie how important it was to try to connect our schools, all 4 of our schools, with a sidewalk, to allow kids to, when I grew up, I walked to school, and I loved loved it. And that's where I built my friendships, my long-term friendships, short-term friendships, going through school. It was always important to try to connect those schools if there was a way. And it was just one evening I was sitting there thinking about it, trying to find a way, because I found out that a lot of the pathways, when you go north, are not built through grants. They're actually built by foundations, because you don't have to follow all the really strict rules. And those of you that are very familiar with the Laugh Pathway, building 2 miles of it could take 5 years. So I called Ridgeway and said, you know, I'd like to connect the schools. Is there anything that the Mott Foundation could do? Because I heard up north, it's foundations or groups that get together to raise this money. And we had a short conversation. He was very excited about it. He called me up the next day and he said, you know, Vince, we can't do anything for Fenton Township, but I can if we can make it the whole county. About a month later, I think Ridgeway called us and said, we're having a meeting at the Mott Foundation, and we're going to discuss it. So Lynn from, City of Fenton, everybody was called into the meeting, had a meeting. About 2 months ago, Ridgeway called me and said the Mott Foundation was going to give us $25 million. Not for Fenton Township, but for the county. And what his goal is to create a pathway system, and it will differ from a sidewalk to a 10-foot path throughout the county that will connect. No one will be farther than 1 mile from a pathway, and they will connect everybody in Genesee County. So if you live in, Mount Morris or wherever, you'll be able to go, and all of those tentacles will go into the city of Lynn. So we'll be able to get from Fenton, if you want to go down to back to the bricks, you'll be able to get on your bike and ride down to see back to the bricks. So bottom line is I just want to give a shout out to Ridgeway for the Mott Foundation to commit that kind of money. So in the future, hopefully we'll be able to find, right now we're working with Melissa. She is putting together a concept for connecting our 4 schools with a pathway. But it will be just a small section of a lot larger plan. And instead of taking 50 years to do it, the goal is from the Mott Foundation is to do this in 5 years. $5 million per year in grants to create this whole Genesee County network. So anyway, hopefully Mike and I will be coming to the board to ask for funds to connect our 4 schools. Any other questions or comments from the board? Any questions or comments for Mike? All right, hearing none. Any committee reports to be made to the board this evening? All right, hearing none, we'll move on to communications. Tonight we have none. Moving on to adoption of ordinances. We have rezoning of number R24-005. This is Andy Heath, parcel number 06-21-400-003. This is a vacant lot on Silver Lake Road. They are asking from R3 to C2 with conditions. This is the second reading and the vote on the adoption. Mike, you're here to review.
Yeah, so it's been in front of you guys once or twice before. Last time we were in front of you, right, you reviewed the Planning Commission's recommendation, right, which was actually to deny the request. And that recommendation was based on the site condition at the time, right? Because the property owner started in compliance with the zoning ordinance. Process took a little bit longer than anyone expected and started storing boats on there while I was going through the rezoning process. By the time the Planning Commission made their recommendation, they felt that compliance was important, and the recommendation showed that. You referred it back to the Planning Commission, right, and gave Mr. Heath an opportunity to comply. The Planning Commission did a site visit the week of the meeting, which would have been, they went out there on June 12th, I believe it was. The meeting was on June 14th. And they found that the property was now in compliance. Right? We had 2 planning commissioners out there. We had Mr. Forsberg and Mr. Cipher. They provided some feedback about site conditions. Right? One of the things they looked at is what visual impact it would have on Silver Lake Road and the neighbors. Right? And the property itself is very wooded and screened. Right? And it backs up to the railroad track, and then on the west is our DPW property. They were shown the location where boat storage would be occurring as part of this rezoning, right? And it would be limited to only an acre in size on an 11-acre site. And it would be limited to the northwest corner of the property. So one, not viewable by Silver Lake Road, not viewable by the adjacent property to the east on Silver Lake Road, viewable by us and people on the train, which I don't even think passenger trains go on that line anymore. So they took public comment as part of their review, and they did receive a letter from the adjacent property to the east. I'm going to read it real quick here. This is Kathy and Ross Merchant living at 4214 Silver Lake Road, east and adjacent to the property. We actually looked down on it, elevation-wise, not otherwise. We won't be able to be at the meeting, but we'd like to communicate our concerns. We talked to Mr. Heath, and he assured us we wouldn't be able to see the boats stored there, and as long as we don't have to see them, we are fine with it. Hopefully the screening will help. We weren't aware of the store, but we don't see a problem with it as long as the lights aren't on all night, and if possible, we'd like to see additional foliage required. So the Planning Commission took that into consideration. They also took comments relating to concerns about traffic on Silver Lake Road. So the Planning Commission did an analysis of all the information they received and public comments, right? Understanding that the proposed use of marine sales and services with boat storage is actually one of the least intense commercial uses that could be utilized on the parcel. The actual traffic that would be generated from this use would be less than even if this were to be subdivided into, a number of residential homes or had a more intense commercial use. The nature of the business is not daily drop off of boats, it's seasonal, right? So you don't take your boat out daily and bring it back. There's no self-storage parking. It's all staff done. In addition to reviewing the rezoning request, they also reviewed the special use permit application for outdoor storage and the site plan. So taking all that into consideration, right, the Planning Commission made a unanimous recommendation to approve the rezoning request, right, finding that it's consistent with the master plan's classification of community commercial, that it was the least intense commercial use that you could have in that district. That Silver Lake Road, right, is a major thoroughfare, and that this property backs up to railroad tracks, and although there is a force main for water line there, it's not actually able to be tapped into. So looking at commercial uses that don't require much water, this was an appropriate use for that site. In addition to the rezoning, like I said, they looked at the special use permit, and they actually gave a conditional approval of the special use permit for outdoor storage, with the conditions that the storage be limited to watercraft and related equipment, that the storage area be limited to 1 acre in size. All storage must be on a gravel surface. They must preserve the existing vegetation of the south, east, and north of the site. Receive final site plan approval prior to the storage of watercraft. All repair work on watercraft would be indoors, and that they receive the conditional rezoning that you are considering here tonight. So the Planning Commission, once they found the site in compliance, found that it was consistent with the master plan and have recommended unanimously to approve the rezoning request.
It's a good report, Mike. Thanks.
Couple questions.
Yep.
Was it completely in compliance, or, because I'm reading a sentence here that says, visited the site and found that the majority of the boats have been removed.
So the
What
boats
does
that,
mean?
so the boats that are still there are personally owned by Mr. Heath, and that would be allowed.
That's allowed, okay. As far as the building, of where, 1 acre for the storage of the outside boats, right?
Correct.
How big's the building?
It's that big.
It's the same one as a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
I mean, nothing's changed on that.
Correct.
Okay, what were the dimensions on that, roughly?
Andy, how big was the building you were proposing?
9,600, 80 by 100.
conditional, is the conditional rezoning transferable? What I mean by that, if we change this to C2, and then he sells it, is it still C2?
So it is limited specifically for marine sales and boat storage. Those are the only uses that it would be allowed on the parcel. So if someone purchased
In
the property.
perpetuity.
Correct, without a rezoning request. So if someone were to purchase the property, they'd have to continue that use, or they'd have to make a rezoning request in front of
The
the,
continued use would be the same limits that are expressed here.
correct,
This is unanimous from the planning commission.
correct.
Good questions. Any other questions or comments from the board?
Yes, so further to that, so if 1 acre is reserved for the storage, and we're talking about one building,
Mhm.
if he wanted to build additional buildings in the future, would he have to come back to the planning commission? Because I didn't see anything about limitations on.
Yeah, I mean, that would require site plan review, so yes.
Okay.
With the site plan review, would it then have to come back for the board for additional conditional?
Well, I suppose it depends on what the building's being used for, right? If it is for, a showroom or repair, no, right? If you want to do more storage, well, all right, so that condition on the size of the storage is a special use permit
I want to know the
restriction.
condition on size of the building, basically. She's saying if he adds on to the building, can he add on unlimited to a
Right.
12-boat storage showroom? Or 12-boat indoor showroom, like Freeway's got?
I'm just thinking it's my thought process, and I think you're going to the same place, is this is an 11-acre parcel.
Mhm.
And right now, we're looking at him using like 2 acres of it max. So he can't use the rest of the land for anything productive? Unless he comes back to the planning commission.
Oh, yes, 100%, yes, right? I mean, that's without saying, right? I suppose, my hesitation was, all right, I suppose he could theoretically build a second building. If it had to do with the storage, right, that would require a review of the special use permit, right? So that would, take additional hearings and review of what was going on. The building itself would just be a site plan review. It would have to be consistent with the zoning ordinance, right, which limits the uses, right, to, marine sales and services.
One worry I have is with the extra property, I don't want this company, this gentleman, to bastardize the township like Miller Industries have. That has, I've already said, bastardized the Thompson Road corridor plan that I've worked on for 25 years. It's now an industrial park, my impression. So I think we have to be very careful about approving this little bitty chunk and in a year or less, all of a sudden I want to build on the other 10 acres. So I think we have to take a step back, look at what the people moved to Fenton Township for, and I just think it's an opportunity for us to get stuck in the back like Miller Industries did, and that's my opinion, because I was the one nay vote. But we've really got to tighten up on what we approve.
So I think from the planning commission's perspective, right, that they took that in consideration. That's why it's a conditional rezoning and not a straight rezoning, and that's why the process has taken almost a year, right? Because the original application was for a straight rezoning to C2, right, or C3, which would have been allowing anything, right? And the planning commission's like, that's not gonna fly, right? And then it got narrowed down a little bit, and they're like, that's not appropriate either. So now, it is narrowed down to a single use on a single parcel. And so, I think those concerns are the same concerns that the planning commission has, and that as they review their site plans, or as they review the special use permits, that is one of the things that they take into consideration, and that's why this process is taken as long as it has.
I understand, it just, I have that fear that such as Miller Industries, they come to get their approval, and I'm told by some people that aren't happy about it, I haven't seen it myself, that the structure beams and stuff were ordered for that property before we approved it. So, they had some inside knowledge somewhere. But let's go.
Bob, I hear your complaint. My concern is more about the car dealership that went at Thompson and Torrey, more so than Linden, because that was a guy that said he was gonna keep it small, and the minute we approved it, he threw 50 cars and Jeeps or whatever the hell they were out there. And he, I mean, just flat out told us to his face, lied to us. Could he do it? Yeah, because it was zoned that way. I'm thinking, and I never do this, but I think going to the C2 conditional, here's the deal, Bob. It's 11 acres. It's R3 now, and I think we have way too much building going on in the township, and I could see another potential 40 houses going in this stupid lot if we kept it R3. We already got 200 more houses coming down the road, so I know what you're saying. I'm surprised the planning commission did an about face 100%.
Yep.
But I do, I see this actually going this way. I say this is more beneficial to protecting Silver Lake Parkway than another 40 houses for Silver Lake Road. And I never go from smaller from ag, or, I never zone up, but I
Good
see your
debate.
point here.
Any other questions or concerns? I guess, what I just saw right now is, to me, is showing our residents that the system works. I mean, we have a great planning commission. The planning commission goes out. We empower them to go out. They take the time, they go out, they look at the property, look at the use, and they come back with a full recommendation. And this isn't about my vote. This is just to say that I think that the system is working. And we're very lucky to have the people that are so dedicated to the township to make sure that the growth in whatever we are doing here is guided by the master plan. And I think they're doing a great job. So anyway, that's just...
Real quick question for
Sure.
Jack. Do you see any potential that if we do this with the building, do you see any potential for kind of loopholing some other building in there with the conditional C2 approval?
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, are you
What's our,
saying like no
what's our
other?
protection there?
Well, nothing. I mean, it doesn't say they're gonna be limited to one building. It might address that, the property owner can come back, other than they have to keep at least 4 acres for outdoor storage. I mean, that requires, in the proposal, it requires a minimum of 4 acres for outdoor storage, so they can't build anything on that 4 acres. But out of the other acreage there, as Mike mentioned, they, property owner could come in and request.
Well, that means there's 7 more acres, but we're also saying we gotta keep the vegetation there. So how's that working?
So it's one of the conditions of special use permit, right? So if they want to remove vegetation, that'd be,
What if he does remove the vegetation? Then what happens with the special use permit if he's already got the buildings?
well, I mean, they could revoke it if he doesn't come back into
Then
compliance.
what?
Then Jack and I are going to court and,
I mean, what's our protections there?
Would it revert back to R3?
No.
so the issue is the special use permit, not the rezoning,
Okay.
right? So would be a violation of the zoning ordinance for the special use permit, not for the use itself.
Again, just because this has happened before to us, when we approved something like this, they said they're gonna do one thing, the minute they got approved, they went and did something else, which was legal to do. I wanna know how we are protected with any of
And
this,
you
other than
can't-
keeping it R3.
yeah. Which Mike can address it too, but conditional rezoning, when you do that, you're saying, okay, it's being rezoned only for, and it has to be the applicant, the board can't do it. Township can't come up with it, it has to be the property owner. So the property owner says, I wanna rezone this property, and here's all I'm gonna do is sell boats and marine equipment
Yep.
there, and I'll keep at least 4 acres vacant or for outdoor storage. So, that's what you get, I mean, that's all you're guaranteed at this point. I mean, so, you can't add conditions to conditional rezoning.
But can he add conditions to conditional rezoning?
Well, he can do whatever he wants and bring it to the board, sure. Conditional rezoning is from the applicant only.
Understood, but I mean, if he wants to do anything other than what we're approving tonight with the building in the 1 acre on gravel, would it have to come back to the board before anything
No.
else can be done?
No, he could.
But the
as
planning
Mike said,
commission
he
would
could-
have to approve any changes to the site plan. So it would still have to go through an approval process of the township. But it wouldn't, if the use isn't changing, then the zoning
Right.
is still, zoning compliance is still there.
That's not gonna be here, that'll be the planning commission or administrative.
So if he wants to build another building or a showroom or anything, which I'm seeing the language is really vague to me, on this, he would have to go in front of the planning commission?
Correct.
Yes.
Any addition,
Any addition, that would come back to the board.
No. If he's building a building,
Yes,
it's not
it
gonna
would.
come to the board.
To
If
the
it goes-
planning
Yes,
That's like,
planning
any
commission.
addition's gonna go to the planning commission.
The conditions will go to the planning commission.
Right, the board I was talking about.
Oh,
Oh,
okay, all right, okay, that's what this, okay.
So, I just wanna make sure I understand. So it's a conditional rezoning, so it would go from R3 to C2. And then he gets a special use permit to do these specific things.
To do, for the outdoor storage,
Okay.
right, so
So if he
the,
violates a special use permit and that gets pulled, the property is then still C2.
so conditional rezoning to C2, so it's the conditions that are on the rezoning aspect, right? So that's where the limitations to the use are still in place.
So it's only, so if it was, it's C2, but only for marine sales and service.
Correct, with outdoor storage relating to the marine services.
What happens if he offers storage for other items, trailers, RVs?
So the planning commission talked about that. That's not his business model, that's not what he's intending to do, and that's why one of the conditions of the special use permit was limiting it to watercraft and associated trailers and whatnot.
Any other questions or comments from the board? Okay, I'll entertain a motion regarding the adoption of the proposed zoning amendment to rezone parcel number 06-21-400-003 from R3 to C2 with conditions as presented.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Clerk Krieg would please call the roll.
Yes, Clark,
Yes.
Gopel,
Yes.
I vote no. Lorraine,
Yes.
Tucker, and Kessler are gone. Reed,
No.
It does require 4 votes. So at this point,
don't have 4 votes.
excuse me,
You don't have 4.
that's what I mean. It
I
would
was just
require,
counting to make
it
sure.
would require 4 votes. So since the failed motion, I would recommend at this point that we bring it back to a full board. That way, Treasurer Tucker would be here, maybe give a little more insight. Again, at this point, is there any other questions? Does anybody object to that? Yes, Jack?
I think the board has to vote to bring it back. You can't just say you're
That's what I was gonna do.
Oh,
I wasn't gonna say we're gonna bring it back. I was going to.
So, yeah, I mean, I will, support a motion to approve, bringing it back.
Bring
for
it back to the full board.
vote.
Second.
All right, motion's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Clerk Krieg, will you please call the roll?
Yes. Lorraine,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Kessler is absent. Gopel.
Yes.
Tucker's absent. Reed,
Yes.
and I also vote yes.
All right. Moving on to unfinished business, tonight we have none. Moving on to new business, this is appointments to the Fenton Township Planning Commission. We've all reviewed the memo in the packet. I'm gonna give you a little bit of background. Dave Cipher has served on the Planning Commission since 2014, and Phil Lewis has served since 2019. Both have been dedicated members of the Planning Commission, conducting site visits, reviewing site plans, and raising relevant questions during discussion. I recommend that both Mr. Cipher and Mr. Lewis be reappointed to 3-year terms on the Fenton Township Planning Commission. Any questions or comments from the board? Hearing none, I make a motion to reappoint David Cipher to the Fenton Township Planning Commission for the term ending May 31st, 2028.
I'll support.
Second.
Motion's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Clerk Crew, will you please call the roll?
Gopel.
Yes.
Tucker's absent. Lorraine.
Yes.
Clark.
Yes.
I vote yes. Reed.
Yes.
Kessler's absent. Motion passes.
All right, thanks, Bob. All right, next I'll make a motion to reappoint Philip M. Lewis to the Fenton Township Planning Commission for the term ending May 31st, 2028. Any questions or comments from the board?
I'll support the motion.
All right.
Second.
All right, motion's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Clerk Krug, will you please call the roll?
Kessler is absent. I vote yes. Reed.
Yes.
Lorraine.
Yes.
Clark.
Yes.
Tucker's absent. Gopel.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thanks, Bob. All right, next under new business, the sale of tax reverted property. Operations Manager Broker, will you please review?
Yes, back in the spring, the township had received an offer for a small piece of property off from Panema Drive. And the board decided it would make more sense to advertise the property for sale. That way, if there are other interested parties, we can see if they're out there. So it's about a 40 by 112 foot piece. It's landlocked between 2 canals off of Lake Panema. Our carrying values are a little under $800 based on the property taxes we've paid over the last 10 years since we acquired it through tax reversion. So we did advertise in the Tri-County on the website. The person who submitted the offer initially, I even sent him a copy of the notice of sale, and he indicated he would submit a bid, but when the deadline arrived, he had not, and only one person had. Rick Brown, who lives on Shiawassee Shores, and this property is directly across the canal from his house, and he says he doesn't want to do anything with it, he just doesn't want anyone to block his view. So he submitted a bid of $3,270, and he was happy when he found out he was the only bidder. So I would recommend the board accept the bid and approve the sale at that price with all fees being paid by the purchaser.
Are there any questions or comments from the board? Hearing none, okay, I will entertain a motion regarding the sale of parcel number 06-22-400-028 to Ricky G. Brown for the purchase price of $3,270 with all recording fees to be paid by the purchaser.
Support a motion to approve.
Second.
All right, motion's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Clerk Krug, will you please call the roll?
Tucker's absent. Lorraine.
Yes.
Gopel.
Yes.
Kessler's absent. Reed.
Yes.
Clark.
Yes.
And I vote yes. Motion passes.
Tom, just a quick question before we move on to board comment. How many more properties do we own?
The only one, other than the Fenton Orchard ones, which are still tied up in litigation. We have one piece in, I think it's Audubon Meadows. It's the lot that has the detention pond on it.
Yep.
And it's big enough to support a house, but people have run their tiles over to that pond. It would be a lot of work to fix that. And we tried offering it to the association back when we first got it, so they could just manage it as a common area, and they didn't want it, so maybe we'll try that again. It's
I
been
was
a
gonna say,
while.
could we reach out to them and ask them
We
again?
can
That's
try
why
that
I asked
again,
the
yeah.
question, because
Yep.
if that's our last piece of property, besides the other ones that we all know about, that would be great if we could just reach out to them and ask them. I think, well, we could ask the board at that time if they would be amenable to just giving it over to the association. All right, moving on to board comment. Is there anyone on the board who has additional comments or concerns?
I've said enough, so,
Yes, you have.
not ashamed, but I said enough.
Raise it, man.
Any other comments or concerns? All right, we'll move on to public comment on agenda or non-agenda items. Is there anyone here present that would like to address the board on an agenda or non-agenda item? If so, please come up to the mic. Just give us your name if you don't mind.
Yeah, good
Know who
evening.
you are.
Yep, good evening. My name is Mike Murphy from Howell. So I'm currently serve as a Livingston County Sheriff. Celebrated 35 years with the Sheriff's Office this month, with the last 9 as being Sheriff. I've watched state government do some things that I haven't been too thrilled about. So I said to myself, I can stay Sheriff and sit on the sidelines, or I can run for state senate. So that's my intention. As you may or may not know, Lana Tice, who serves the 22nd District, her term is limited due to term limits, so it'll be an open seat. So I filed to run for that district. I'm a what you see is what you get kind of guy. If you Google me, most of that stuff's probably true. There's a lot of information out there. Like I said, I've been with the Sheriff's Office for 35 years. So if I may approach, I've got a business card with my phone number on it. I'd love to sit down and have coffee with you if there's something you think that I should know about the township, what's going on in the area. Love to learn a little bit more and you know, bounce ideas off. And then I've also got, of course, a propaganda.
Well, thank you very much for addressing the board.
Well, these guys gonna be this year?
Absolutely.
We'll get them to.
We'll make sure that they get them, including the propaganda.
Right.
Wasn't that
Thank
last
you.
year? We saw you last year in the news?
I've been in the news a few times.
You're amongst friends here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Is there anyone else that's in attendance tonight that would like to address the board on agenda or non-agenda items? Hearing none, I will move to Zoom. Is there anyone attending via Zoom? Cassandra, I guess you're the only one. Would you like to address the board this evening on agenda or non-agenda item? If so, just kind of unmute. All right, I'll take that as a no. All right. It is now 7:31 p.m. If there's nothing else, I say good night and the meeting's adjourned. I want to wish everyone a happy, safe 4th of July.
Betcha.
Recording stopped.